Hello and welcome to day 14 of the Beer Jack and Melder. My name's Matt.
And I'm Luke. Are we getting through this one quickly?
Yeah, snap to it. We're here today drinking Deeds XPA. Tell them about Deeds, Luke.
Deeds is a pretty amazing brewery in Melbourne. So they started in, I think, 2012. And they've just really had some sort of astronomical growth, and they've been putting out some really fantastic beers just recently. So they started off with a couple of mates that met at university, David and Patrick. Cheers. And they loved beer and they were home brewers and they wanted to start a brewery, which is very, very expensive. So in the meantime, they started a distribution company, and they started importing beers and other drinks, one of which was Recordelig, the Scandinavian cider. So yeah, so I think that's how they funded the brewery basically. So I think they did really well at distributing that, and then they sold the rights to Recordelig and kicked off the brewery. So back in about 2012, they started contract brewing. They were called Quiet Deeds to begin with for quite a few years, and changed the name a year or two ago. And they have been in their own building for a few years, but they've only opened it last year. So their new logo has like the sawtooths of the roof of the brewery.
Yeah, they've only just opened as a venue quite recently. They was following their progress, setting it all up, and it looks pretty cool. So if you're over in Melbourne, definitely worth checking out.
Well, it's been a saga for them to open up. They had asbestos, they had council red tape, they had their brewhouse manufacturer went bust before the brewery arrived with them. So they've just been through everything. I think it took like maybe 5 years since they took over the building to actually starting brewing there properly and opening up as a venue that you can visit, which you can now visit, as you say.
Yeah, but throughout that time they've been putting out fantastic beers. They're kind of among the top tier of kind of those hype Australian breweries at the moment. They're putting out a fantastic range in 440ml cans. So from stuff like we've got a double hazy sour IPA with fruit. They do a bunch of great hazies, triple hazy IPAs they're known for.
We have their Fiscal Damage as a beer of the week.
Yeah, that was ridiculously hopped with 50 grams per litre of dry hops. They do a bunch of great imperial stouts and sours, and just really kind of at the forefront of that Australian hype train, putting out some really cool stuff.
Well, last year their head brewer won the Australian Brewer of the Year, so very highly regarded, very well respected. But as well as all that weird and interesting stuff, they also do some brilliant core range beers. So some great lagers, some great pale ales, some great mid-strength beers.
Like this one, which is their XPA. And XPA, as probably most of you know, it's a relatively modern style, and it sits kind of a bit below the APA or American Pale Ale in terms of the character that you get from it. It tends to have slightly lower ABV and just a really stripped back malt base. So I believe it's about 4.5 or 5. Yeah, 4.2 on this. So a bit lower ABV, and kind of allowing that malt to kind of get out of the way and let the hops sing. It's supposed to be kind of a bit crisper, a bit brighter. This is it's particularly popular in Australia and New Zealand, around the world. I think a lot of people from other countries in the world don't really have or talk about XPAs as much as Aussies and Kiwis do. Particularly after the success of brands like Volta and Sawmill kind of pioneering it over here.
Yeah, and it's light in colour, and it's pretty smashable, really.
Yeah. This is probably one of the most beer tasting beers that we've got in the advent calendar this year. It's super clean, bright, straightforward. It's got a really kind of refreshing hop note.
Yeah.
But it's not a beer that mucks around. It's a really good everyday drinking beer that is just kind of really high quality. So it's an example of how you can have this style really well done.
Yeah, just a really super well made beer for sort of everyday drinking, and it's there's enough interest going on in there. It is a treat, but it's a beer you can grab a slab of and get through a few in beautiful weather like this. So yeah. Unfortunately, as good a job as we did with scheduling great beers in the advent calendar, we couldn't coordinate with the weather. So we've had 12% imperial stouts on scorching hot days, and a beer like this, which should be drank in good weather, is yet again pouring down here at Auckland. So sorry, we couldn't arrange better weather for you.
Yeah, well, if you do want some beer that's better suited for this weather, We do have a couple of other Deeds beers in stock at the moment. We have the Double Lamington, which is a raspberry and coconut imperial brown ale. It's mad. 8.5%, loaded up with raspberry and coconut, so that's tasting beautiful. And also the Bitter End, which is just a classic West Coast IPA. Nice, bright, clean, punchy hops. If you want to check those out, those are available on the website at the moment. Normally, we bring Deeds over pretty regularly. They're kind of probably one of our most imported breweries.
They've become a real favourite. So we brought them over, and of course, a lot of New Zealanders haven't heard of a lot of these Australian breweries that are sort of doing really well on the other side of the Tasman. So that's been nice that us at Beer Jerk have been able to introduce people to some of these great breweries. And yeah, Deeds has been a great success story. We brought them over, and then people immediately can see how fantastic the beers are.
Yeah, so it's really nice. Expect to see some more Deeds coming up in the next year, and probably a bunch of the other Australian beers that you see on the calendar. We're hoping to bring a bunch more of those over again. But yeah, it's a real favourite for us at the moment.
Yeah, it's a great beer. Well, cheers everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
And we'll see you next time.